of where Rebbettzin Silber teaches. Now it's in Hebrew. So we have all the different things, and we know where you've been beforehand. There you go.
That's it. Oh, you have your happy birthday picture still on. I can't wait.
I think it's from one child to grandchild's birthday. We had another one here last week when I wasn't even here.
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. I just sent out my notice now. I forgot my Thursday. Everybody knows it's Thursday, but whatever. I have to remind everybody to give them their direct link. Everybody wants a direct link because they can't be bothered with
we know.
Yeah. So let's wait a little bit. Do me a favor and send me. She can't get on with that. I need a
link. Okay, 1 second.
Some of them are just too busy.
Rebbettzin.
It's just so busy.
Okay. Yeah. Clipboard. There we go. Yeah, I've just sent you just the link by itself.
Morning, Joanne.
Good morning. How are you, Shulamit?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, Baruch Hashem.
I'm not going to be on the video all the time because I'm running about, but I just want to say hello quickly.
Okay, good. Nice to have you.
Good morning, Joanne, and good morning, Shulamit.
Good morning.
Morning.
And Naomi, I think Rebbettzin Silber will mention your son's name here, so don't worry, we will be learning.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay.
Marcel. Is Marcel here? Oh, there's Marcel. Good morning, Marcel.
So we're gonna daven today strong for Naomi's son.
And while we also in the Shloshim, let's also remember to add Marcel's mum.
We will, but we want to do separate.
Great.
So Yaakov Yishai ben Naomi, which is the most gorgeous name, Yishai ben Naomi. It's all Mashiach names. You should have a refuah shlema mamash. Were you able to get, Naomi, through to the number I gave you?
No success at all. It's just a voicemail. Like whenever you ring, it's just voicemail.
And what does it say?
I don't know because it's all in Hebrew. My sister's calling because I don't speak Hebrew. So we know, I mean, we've left messages, but we've not had any feedback. So I don't know if we get the messages or not.
Okay, believe Neda, you'll remind me. I'm going to try to call later. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Remind me. And Marcel, say your mother's name. Leili Nishmas, your mother. Wait, unmute. Wait first, unmute.
Razel Bas Aharon.
Razel Bas Aaron should have an Aliyas Neshama and should daven for all the Jewish people and her family. I just heard the most remarkable story today that there was a wedding in the community of the Hasidei Gur. But I don't know, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, there was a wedding, and a week or two before the wedding, the Kala and her mother both had a dream. You heard this story? The Kala and her mother, now these are Ger Chassidim. You know what means Ger Chassidim? The Ger Chassidim are very, very strict, and they have a very strong Chassidus here in Yerushalayim HaKodesh. They have also in Ashdod. Anyway, so this Ger family, the mother of the Kala and her mother, within a few days of each other, had the same dream. What was the dream? The dream was that the grandmother, who's in Shamayim already, said she cannot come to the wedding because they're expecting a big tzaddik to come to Shamayim on that day. So they should make the wedding earlier so that the grandmother could come. So they didn't know the mother and the daughter. Now, by Ger Chassidim, I don't know if you know different Chassiduses. If you were talking about Breslov Chassidim, Breslovers are always dreaming. And it's always, but Ger, they're very, very practical Chassidus. They don't go in for all of this But the two women both had within a few days of each other. I think the mother had the dream first, and she didn't want to tell the Kala, her daughter. Then the Kala had the dream and told her mother. And then the mother said, well, guess what? I had the same dream. So again, the dream was that the grandmother, the mother's mother, the grandmother, came to her, both of them in a dream, saying she's not going to be able to make it to the wedding because in Shamayim they're expecting a big neshama to come that day, and they should they should make the wedding earlier. So they went to the Ger Rebbe, and the Ger Rebbe said, surprisingly, he said, yes, make the wedding a day earlier. Now this was a week before the wedding, a week or 2 weeks before the wedding. Could you imagine? You have to send out invitations. You have to get a new place. You have to. I don't know how in the world they did that. You have to, that. Anyway, they made the wedding indeed the day before. And they were curious to see what would happen on the day of the actual wedding. And then, you know who passed away on that day? The Rosh Yeshiva of a Hesder Yeshiva in Har Choma. Hesder Yeshiva of Sternberg. Could you imagine that the Ger Rebbe and the Hesder are the yeshiva boys that go into the army, the Haredi Dati Leumi, the Rav Cook. Could you imagine in Shamayim, they told this Ger family that a big tzaddik is coming, and the Ger grandmother wouldn't come to the wedding because she has to be to greet this big tzaddik. And this big tzaddik is an Israeli Dati Leumi rabbi. I mean, all of his students, I remember reading when he passed away, I had never heard of him. But he made many, many different yeshivas all over Eretz Israel, but he's not in the Ger community at all. He's not in that world. Look in Shamayim. In Shamayim, they don't care. They look at, are you a tzaddik or not? They don't care. Are you Hasidic? Are you Dati Leumi? Are you a Rav Kuknik? Do you wear kippah sruga? In Shamayim, they don't care. So it's such I love when I read that in multiple sources today. That they just talk, and that they're just talking about the story now, because there was such a, so anyway, ladies, we represent, our shir represents this idea of everybody together. We have every type of woman in our shir, and this goes out to every type of person, and we all love each other and respect each other, and we learn Torah together, and we daven together. And so I hope Hashem is proud of us. I love you guys. I know I'm proud of you for coming early in the morning, UK time, to learn. Okay, so now we have a little bit of a surprise for you. And I have actually a surprise for Rebbetzzin Dove, because she doesn't know that I'm doing this. Hi, Shalom. So everybody open up to Perek Mem Vav in Tehillim, 46. Perek Mem Vav in Tehillim, 46. Oh, what's with this? We're having so many problems with Zoom. How to channel link relation. What is this? Hi. Dina, we have a share now.
I have share now. I thought you haven't said it.
I just sent you the link. It's at 10 o'clock UK time. But you could. So it's now.
It's right now. It's starting right now.
It's starting right now. You are on the share.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Can you keep me on just this way?
I could. Okay.
Would you rather me?
I would rather you join. I would rather you join if you don't mind, because then
Okay, fine. I'll join it.
Okay,
I'll join it.
great.
Okay.
Okay. See, look at that. Here's the link. Let me send you the link again, just to make sure. Okay. Anyway, okay, so here goes. We have a surprise for you. First, I'm going to do a little bit of Perek Mem Vav. Perek Mem Vav is talking about when Mashiach comes. We're all waiting expectantly any second for the Beis HaMikdash to come down. We don't know why people have to be in Shamayim to receive the Beis HaMikdash. We don't know, they'll have to come back again. We don't understand why people have to go. But whatever it is, let's learn Perek Mem Vav. We're going to learn it we're going to learn it very quickly. So I'm not going to do as I usually do. Okay, so you know you got on good. I'm not going to do as I usually do. I'm going to do it quickly just because I want to get to a certain point. Okay, so here goes. This is a teaching taught and composed by the Bnei Korach. Marcel, you have to unmute yourself, Mamela. And the Bnei Korach, as you know, survived because they did tshuva the last minute, which means anybody can do tshuva last minute. Al Alamos Shir. It's a song, and the simple Rashi says that it was played on an instrument called alamos. I'm not going to go deeply into this. You're going to see why in a second. You should know something. When Mashiach comes and David Melch comes back, first of all, we're going to just like kiss his feet. We're going to be so excited to see David Melch, and he's going to be so excited to see us because he's going to say, you've been keeping my Tilim alive for thousands of years. But we're going to ask him to sing the nigunim of every single one of these songs, because every single song, including this that was Bnei Korach, even though Bnei Korach made it, but David Melech activated it, he lived it, he edited it, all the Tilims. So he'll teach us how to sing this. Elokim lanu machaseh va'oz. Again, this is talking about our day. It's talking about today. It's talking about today, 2023. I don't know what day it is. I'm going January 5, 2023, and today is in Bayas is Teves, is Yud Gimel Teves, Tavshin Pei Gimel Yud Beis Teves, Tavshin Pei Gimel. The Pei is always talking about the Gimel Geula. Okay, so God, Elokim lanu machaseh va'oz. Hashem is for us. A machaseh means a protection, and oz, his strength. Ezra b'tzarot, he gives us help. Ezra, right? He gives us help in times of tzarot and difficulty. Nimtza me'od, and actually, Chazal say that David Melch is telling us here that Hashem is actually closer to you when you're going through a hard time. Nimtza me'od, he's very available. He's very accessible when you're having tzarot, when you're having difficulty. Now, we don't like this. We don't want to have tzarot. We want Hashem next to us without suffering. But David Melch is saying to us, you can feel Hashem closer to you when you have some suffering sometimes. And Hashem is available because it says, Imo Enochi B'tzara, Hashem is with us when we're going through hard stuff. Again, I'm going quickly, you'll see in a second way. Therefore, we are not going to be afraid when the world turns upside down. Ladies, have you noticed that the world turns upside down? Things are going crazy. Here in Eretz Yisrael, if you'll permit me a short diversion, I will tell you that there's a big going crazy here in Eretz Yisrael because of this new government that was elected that's doing all these very good things, and it's driving all of the liberals crazy. For example, they're saying, yes, people are allowed to go in the Har HaBayit and daven there. And we're not going to, you okay, Sharon? Yeah? Okay. We're not going to be afraid of the enemies, right? We're going to, yeah, BBC hates it, right? Everybody hates us when we self-protect. They love Jews when we're having Chas v'Shalom Holocaust, Lo Aleinu, and only on the enemies, and that they like. But what don't they like? They don't like when we stand up for ourselves, when we win the wars, when we have a good economy. That drives them crazy, and it drives also the Israeli politicians who are very sadly not loyal to Judaism kind of people. Drives them crazy also. So now the whole world is going crazy. We're happy about it, but the whole world is going crazy because we're defending ourselves. But here, David Melch is saying, we're not going to be afraid. We shouldn't be afraid when the world is turning upside down, when Hashem transforms. Now, the word lahamir, hamara, is an interesting thing. When you change money in Israel, it's called lahamir kesef. You're changing it from one thing to another. So you're transforming it from when you have pounds, sterling to shekels. So we're not going to be afraid when the world transforms. Uvemot harim, and when the mountains collapse, belev yamim, into the middle of the water, into the middle of the sea, we're not going to be afraid. Now, what does it mean, mountains collapsing? I don't think it really means, even though we had tsunamis, it's true. I don't think it means physically. We know that harim represents the idea of strength, right? Like a mountain is very strong, or a mountain is very tall. Joanna, could you do me a favor, sweetie? Could you make me the active speaker? Because on my screen, I'm getting flashes from other people's computers, and it's not so easy for me to know. Now I have Marcel's the active speaker. So take Marcel off active speaker and put me on, if you can. I don't know if you can do that. I know everybody's on vacation today.
You know,
yeah.
I think you've got to, if you do it on your screen and you just tap on that view, that's just speaker. If you tap on the view, like on my screen now, you're the speaker only, but you've got to put it on your screen to view speaker.
Okay, so I can't do that. I tried and that's not working. So let's do this. There I did. Thank you. Good. Okay. Only because somebody's screen was flashing and it was, I'm afraid it shouldn't give me a headache. Okay, thank you. Yes, and
I think that screen might have a background that's open on it. I've also got it flashing, yeah.
So it was bothering my eyes. Yeah, I see. I put my name in my Hebrew, right? You could see what shiur I'm on before you. Okay. So it means when big people are going to crumble. That's what it means. Harim means strong. It means big people. When big people are going to fall into the ocean. And maybe it also means that they'll do tshuva. That would be nice if great people did tshuva. The waters that this mountain is going to fall into, which means the mountains. In other words, you know, the nice way to say it is that the great, strong people are going to do tshuva and enter into the yam shel chachma, the yam of the Torah. The waters are going to rage and they're going to float. They're going to be like foamy. And the mountains are going to shake in front of Hashem. Before Hashem, the mountains are going to shake. You know that during Corona, it was very PC. You know what it means PC? It means politically correct. And during Corona, it was very politically correct to be anti anybody who wasn't, you know, like bowing down to all of the Corona doctors who were telling people what to do. And now that they're finding out so much information that the alternative doctors have been saying for a very long time, and they're finding that to be true, Nebuch. So now it's the style to go against. Some people are going against the liberal world. So I read today an article that was written by some American correspondent from, what's one of those like liberal newspapers? You had BBC, I forgot what it was called. Like, I don't know, New York Times, but it wasn't New York Times, maybe CBS, one of the TV programs. Now he's a Jew, but what bothered him? What bothered him was that the White House, they don't call Xmas trees anymore. They called it this White House, this guy. Or whatever, the people that are telling him what to do. He called it holiday trees. So this CBS correspondent, who's a liberal guy, he wrote a whole article. It ticked him off, and he wrote a whole article saying, that's it. You're persecuting religion now. You persecute Jews, now you're persecuting Goyim. You can't call it an Xmas tree, you have to call it a holiday tree. Everybody knows what kind of tree it is. It's not a holiday, it's their Xmas. We don't say it, but he could, you know, and he started to show piece by piece how every time the United States takes another immoral act, taking away taking away parents' custody if they don't allow their children to transgender. You know that I was you know that Baruch Hashem, I'm privileged to work at Neve Yerushalayim. Should be blessed. So there was a girl who we have staff there that works with alumni. So one of the alumni called, and I was in on the call. She's divorced with children. She's offered a shidduch, but the man's children, one of the man's children, is 8 years old, little kid, little boy, 8 years old, wants to be a girl. And the mother is also divorced there, and the mother is the mother of this little boy who wants to be a girl is, she went totally off. And the father, who's from religious, he's not allowed to protest of his own son. Because the kid, that boy, got into it, said he wants to be a girl. And that father who has custody of his child because the mother is crazy a little bit or whatever, she just ran away. She's not in the picture. He's not allowed to tell the kid, he's not allowed. So it came to, we had to tell the girl, you shouldn't take such a shidduch. She was desperate for a shidduch. But how could you get involved in a situation like that? You have children on your own. You can't get your children exposed to some, it's a crazy world. So this CBS correspondent was writing that every time America, takes God out of the national anthem, and every time they make another abortion, make it easier, and whatever they do, there's a rise in suicide, there's a rise in crime, there's a rise in kids dropping out of school, there's a rise in drugs and death. And so he said, maybe you should make a paying attention to that. Like, so you see a correspondence between that, but they don't care. That world doesn't care. Okay, I have to get to my surprise when it's getting late. Yeah, okay. Nahar, there's a river. Plagav Yisamchu Ir Elokim. This river is going to be surrounding Yerushalayim HaKodesh, and it's going to make the Yerushalayim HaKodesh very happy. The city of Hashem is going to make it very happy. Kedosh Mishkanei Elyon. It's a place, Yerushalayim is a place where Hashem dwells. So there's going to be released a river. As you know, we have underground springs in Yerushalayim HaKodesh. And actually one of them, they're opening up for tourists now for the first time in many, many years. They made it safe and they're opening it up now for tourists. Okay, Elokim b'kirba, and Hashem is in the middle of Yerushalayim HaKodesh, Baal Timot, he's never going to leave this place. Yazra, Elokim lifnos boker. And Hashem will help it, meaning Yerushalayim HaKodesh, when the Mashiach is coming. Lifnos boker means when the dawn is coming. It means when Mashiach is coming. Okay, here's a pasuk I wanted to get to. When this happens, when Mashiach is about to come, and Hashem is going to be in Yerushalayim, and he's going to stay here because we're going to be threatened, as we are mamish today. Meaning, just because one of the Knesset members went up to the Har Bayit 2 days ago. What's today? Thursday, Tuesday he went. Okay, he goes to the Har Bayit, and he's not the first time he's gone, but now he became a sar. He became a minister in the government. He has an office. Ben Gvir, his name is. So the whole world is going crazy now, saying shouldn't ruin the status quo. The status quo which meant, Arabs can go crazy on the Har Bayit and Jews shouldn't go there. And if they go, they should only go in a certain area and they shouldn't utter a bracha. That's what's going on in the Har Bayit. So when the whole world is going to go crazy because we're coming back because we're back and we're assuming we're taking over leadership of the Har Bayit, Hamogoyim, the nations are going to scream, Matu Mamlachos, and the nations, the kingdoms are going to fall apart. They're going to shake and in fury. Natan b'kolot Tanmug Aretz. 1 second, where am I? The nations are going to go crazy, and they're gonna start trying to destroy us. And then what's Hashem going to do? Natan b'kolo, Hashem is going to make a sound. Hashem is going to give a yell, a geshrai, a scream, and temugaretz. The whole world is going to melt. Namog, to melt. The whole world is going to melt. Now you know it doesn't mean to melt physically. We're not talking about physically. We're talking about politically, emotionally. There's going to be a big to-do here in Eretz Israel. Because we are asserting ourselves. This is mamish, it's Tehillim Perek Mem Vav, but it's today's current events. And the whole world's going to start screaming. The UN is going to call us to the UN and then to the Hague and all these different silly things that are meaningless, but they're like just it's like flexing the muscles to show our opinion of you. You know something, now they're discussing in all of these political circles of the liberals and of the leftists and of the people who want to accord, they want to destroy not just religion, but they want to destroy values. They want to destroy civilization, basically. That's really what they want to do, because they want to recreate civilization in their own name, and they want to rule over civilization. That's really what's going on. Anyway, of course, that's not going to happen, but what they talk about is they're rethinking, like, should they have given permission, for the state of Israel? They're rethinking that, like, do we have the right to live here and to be sovereign in our own country? That's a conversation that people are having right now. You would never think that would ever happen. Ooh, 1 second, sorry. See if that's better. You would never think that would happen, but yes, it's happening in all of these. Is that too much? Like, in all of these places, they're saying, like, maybe we should revoke the state of Israel. Okay, don't worry. Hashem says, don't worry, but that's what's going to happen before Mashiach comes. Hashem's going to give out a scream, and they're going to all melt. They're going to quake in fear. Now, here's a pasuk you know by heart, because we say in davening a lot. Hashem tzvakot imanu. Hashem of the armies, right? Hashem, the powerful one, is with us. Miskav lanu, he's our miskav. A miskav is like a fortress. Elokei Yaakov Sela, and he's God of the Jewish people. Yaakov is another name for the Jewish people, like Israel. Sela, we learned what Sela is. This is the second time we had Sela in this pair. Sela is emphasis. It's a mysterious word that David HaMelech made up. It only appears in Tehillim one time in the Navi. It means like highlight this. Okay, here's the pasuk I want to come to. L'chu chazum michalot Hashem. And then the David HaMelech is saying to us, now go and see the great works, the great actions of Hashem. When all of this is happening, when Mashiach is about to come, sorry, I have to move the screen. When Mashiach is about to come, and the whole world is going to go crazy, and they're going to come and gang up on us here in Eretz Yisrael, and Hashem is going to protect us. Sorry. Okay, good, thanks. Had to put a tissue and a pen in back of the thing. Okay, Hashem, go look and see the unbelievable behavior of Hashem. Hashem is going to make this world and the enemies of the Jewish people desolate. Shamot means like shemama. Shemama means empty. Mashpis milchamos. Hashem is then gonna, when he destroys all the bad people, Hashem is then going to stop all the wars. Akteharas in the entire world. Keshes yishaber, he'll break all the weapons. The kitzeis chanis, and he'll break all the arrows. Agalos yisrof ba'esh, and he'll burn all the tanks and all of the chariots. These are all old-fashioned weapons. Hapu adzu kianoch yanokin. And so Hashem is going to say to them, stop fighting already and acknowledge that I am God. I am exalted, and the nations of the world have to come and acknowledge me, and the whole world has to acknowledge me. And the same pasuk we repeat, Hashem tzvakos imanu, Hashem is with us, miskav lanu, he's protecting us, Elokei Yaakov, he's the God of the Jewish people, Sela, absolutely. That's the Perek. I know we never did a Perek so quickly, because I really didn't want to do the Perek with you. I wanted to do pasuk test. Let's go back to pasuk test. L'chu chazum mipalos Hashem. Go and see how the power of Hashem is. Asher sam shamos ba'aretz, that Hashem is going to make desolation in the world. Now, if you look at that pasuk, you see that the name of Hashem that's used is Yud Kei Vav Kei. In Perek Samech, where is it? in Perek and Sanachvav 66, there's a similar pasuk that says the following. It says, L'chu ru'u mifalos Elokim. It's a similar type of a beginning, and it says it says the name of Elokim. Here in our pasuk, L'chu chazum mifalos Hashem, you go and see the actions of Hashem. It's Yud Kei Vav Kei. But these actions, these actions are destructive of the enemies, right? What's Hashem doing? He's going to make desolate the whole world, not the whole world, only the bad people, the places of the evil in the whole world. Certain governments, houses are going to collapse, or maybe, I don't know if they're going to collapse because the buildings are good buildings, but whatever it is, Hashem's going to destroy the power of evil people. That's what it says here. This is all about Mashiach. Hashem's going to destroy the power of evil people. But listen to this. Because it says Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is the name of Hashem, in mercy, the Gemara says, like this, Gemara Brachas says, that there's another meaning you could learn from this. Now, the Gemara has teachings that we have passed directly down from Moshe Rabbeinu. Halacha and Moshe Sinai. When Moshe Rabbeinu taught this thousands of years ago, this pasuk had not yet been written. But Moshe Rabbeinu said, there's going to be a time. This is called a drush. And the drush is always based on a teaching of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu said, there's going to be a time where you're going to have this weird pasuk that's going to say what we just read. Asher sam shamot ba'aretz, al tikri shamot ela shemot. So the Gemara says that Moshe Rabbeinu told them, when you hear that pasuk later on, don't read it only shamot, which is exactly how it's written, and that's the pshat, but you can also derive another teaching. And the other teaching that you're deriving is shemot. Shemot means names. And the Gemara goes on to talk about a name. And the Gemara says, how do we know about Rus? Remember Rus, our precious Rus, that we love her so much, David HaMelech's great-grandmother, right? Ruth. Here we have a Ruth here, one of them, right? So the Gemara asks, what is Ruth? Why does she get that name Rus? Reish Vav Tav, Ruth. Why did she get such a name? That was her Moabite name. Her mother gave her a Hebrew name. Maybe it also meant something in Moabite, but it was Hebrew name. Aram Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan in the Gemara says, Shezachta v'yatsa mimena David, because her mother didn't know this when she named her, but Ruth didn't know this her whole life growing up. She only found this out, after so many crazy adventures, but came out of her, David HaMelech, Sheriveyu l'Kadosh Baruch Hu b'shirot v'tishbachot, that David HaMelech poured onto Hashem praises and thank yous. The word rus means to be overflowing, to saturate, like it says in the Perek that you know by heart, because we say it by Shalosh Shunas, Kosi Rivaya, my cup runneth over. If you read the English in the fancy English, the Rivaya means it's saturated, it's overflowing. So it says that Ruth got the name Ruth, because she would later on have a descendant who would be overflowing with love for Hashem, with praise of Hashem, with devotion to Hashem. And how do you know that the name of a person is so important? So what if she had that name Ruth? Does it mean that everybody who has the name Ruth is going to have a descendant who's going to overflow with praises to God? Amar Rabbi Eliezer, the Amar Kra, Rabbi Eliezer said, because the pasuk says, this pasuk, the Gemara quotes our pasuk, L'chu chazu mifalos Hashem, asher sam shamos ba'aretz, al tikri shemos ela shemos. That whenever we read this pasuk, we have to know that it doesn't just mean that Hashem is making destruction, but that Hashem is making names. Now we're entering into Parsha Shmos, into the book of Shmos next week, so it's very appropriate that we learn this. And we know that we just finished the book of Bereshis and all the Shvatim, right? Reuven, Shimon, Levi, they all got names by their, right? They were all names. And the name that they got was significant in that every one of their names had a meaning. And every one of their names was a prayer that they should live up to their name. So we're going to talk a little bit about names. Now, Rebbetzzin and I were discussing if we should do a little bit of a break from Tehillim, although we're never taking a break from Tehillim, but if we can somehow incorporate the teaching of people's names, their Hebrew names, and the Aleph Beis letters that make up their Hebrew names, and to talk about that for a little bit of a time until, as long as you like. So here's the pasuk in Tehillim that we're basing our entire study on, that Hashem makes names. Why in the world did you name your children what you named them? You might think, oh, it's because, the Zaidi passed away and then you had a son, so the Zaidi needed a name and you were Zalcha to give the name of the grandfather to your son. That's what you think. But it says here, go see the works of God, the actions of God, that God puts names into the world. You might think that you named your child for your grandfather, but really Hashem said to you, the name of the neshama that you're bringing into this world right now is, and he put that name into your head. That's the name of the neshama of the person. And each of us received a Hebrew name. Now, if you did not receive a Hebrew name, then we'll talk about it and you'll choose a Hebrew name. I'm pretty sure all of you do have a Hebrew name. If not, you'll choose one, because then Hashem will put your Hebrew name into your head and he'll tell you what the name of your neshama is. It's not about getting the name. It's not about choosing the right name. It's about hearing in your head the right name. It's about letting go of your choices and listening to what Hashem is telling you. So that's what happened. That's what happens. Hashem does that. I once met a girl. Now she's Baruch Hashem, she's a Shomer Mitzvahs, one of my students in the day. Her name, I forgot what her English name was. And I said to her, do you have a Hebrew name? And she said she'll ask her mother. She doesn't know. She doesn't think so. I can tell you so many stories about names, but she went back and she asked her mother if she has a Hebrew name. And her mother said, yes, you do. And you were named for my grandmother, whose name was Sarah. So that's nice. She has a Jewish name, Sarah, but her English name wasn't Sarah. Her English name was, I don't know, Christina, some one of those kind of crazy names. Anyway, this girl became interested in learning about Sarah Imenu, and she noticed something very interesting. She noticed that when we did the Parshas HaShavua, so it was around her birthday time, and we were talking about Sarah Imenu in the Parsha. So I asked her, do you know your Hebrew birthday? She didn't know, so I looked up her birthday. She was born on the Shabbos that in Shul, we read Parshas Chayesar. I said to her, ask your mother if she knew that. She asked her mother. Her mother had no idea what she was talking about. I said, why did you ask your mother why she named you Sarah? She said she doesn't know. She knew that she had to give her a Jewish name. She wanted to give her a Jewish name. And that name Sarah came into her head. And I'm telling her, she goes by such a non-Jewish, she went by such a non-Jewish English name. But the mother, now this mother didn't know anything about anything. Her Yiddishkeit was sadly very, very, she didn't know anything, that mother, but she knew. Hashem put it even into her head, the Hebrew name Sarah for her daughter, who's now Baruch Hashem, a Shomer Mitzvahs. So that's what Hashem does. He puts names into your head and he gives us names. Let's say, for example, Nomi's son, Yaakov Yishai. That's an amazing name. I don't know if Nomi knew that, but Nomi, Yishai, Yaakov Avinu, that's all Mashiach names. You should have a first name. So Hashem does that to us. And it's a very good thing to analyze your name. First of all, it's a very important thing to be called your Hebrew name. Now, I remember learning this with you in this chevra, because I remember for a certain amount of time, everybody put their Hebrew name on the screen, right? And we were calling each other by our Hebrew names. It's very, very important to try your best to, at least among friends that learn Torah together, to say your Hebrew name. I remember that, I know Joanne's name is Rebbetzzin, Joanne's name is Yael. And for a while I was calling her that. Now I failed in that. Now I'm going to start again. I know that, you know, sometimes people who have an English name, they want to make themselves more available or less formidable. So you know, you use the name that people are used to. But listen, if this Perek of Tehillim is talking about Mashiach, and Mashiach is about to come any second, ladies, really, we're serious here. And you know, people are asking me now, why, not that I know anything about anything, I'm telling you, I'm so not. But people are asking me, like, how come all of a sudden people are hearing about the Yanuka? And all right, I started learning from the Yanuka 3 years ago, but no one, there was nobody knew that, except for his little small chevra. But now everybody's going to the Yanuka for brachas. All these rabbis are coming from America, they go to him for a bracha. And all these musicians go to him for brachas now. And the mayor of Yerushalayim invited him to come to live in Yerushalayim. The mayor, like, what's happening? Well, he was hiding for so many years. And all of a sudden now he's available. I think it's another part of this whole story. I don't know what part exactly it is, but it's another part of the story of that we're coming closer and closer. So if the pasuk is telling us about our names, and it's in the Perek of Tehillim talking about Mashiach, and we know that people are now interested in that. So let's learn a little bit about, now this, we'll learn.
Rebbetzzin, Silber, did you see the questions in the chat?
No, I didn't know.
Do you want me to read it? Do you want me to just read it? So it says sometimes names aren't strong enough for a person, and a Rav can suggest to change or add a name. Can you explain, please?
Okay, I will do that. I will do that.
And then Batya also, she says she has a similar story. Her Hebrew name, Yudit Batya, was chosen because it was close to my English name, Julie Beth. But my Hebrew birthday is dated is Teves, just a few days after Hanukkah. My parents were not familiar with the story of Yudit and her role in Hanukkah when they named me, but look at that Ruach HaKodesh. Okay.
Batya is next week's Parsha. Now you also have Batya. Batya's coming in next week's Parsha. Yeah. So it's also Teves. So you both of your names, your parents hit on right. They got it right. They heard right. Okay, let's talk about changing names. There's a very big discussion in halacha and in Kabbalah about a name, about changing names, adding names. There used to be a Rav, he's in the next world already, Diane Fisher, and he was very accessible. He lived in Strauss Street, like near Meir Sharm Geula area. And he was very accessible. He was a Dayan on the Bezdin, on the Badatz, but he was very accessible, especially to Dalet Teves, good, especially to Balei Tshuva. So I had the privilege of taking many students to him, and he was the expert in names. And yes, he would change names. He would add names. He did all kinds of gematrias about names. In olden days, I mean, okay, he passed away, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I don't remember, but I remember the last time I took students to him, I was privileged to go. He never was seeing people he was in his seat, but he had oxygen in his nose. It was till all of his kaichas he gave to the Jewish people. Anyway, Diane Fisher. Anyway, so he had a Kabbalah. He was the expert in names. And nobody in Yerushalayim would make a shidduch. The Yerushalmi wouldn't make a shidduch until they ran the names by him. And he gave the okay. So there are people who have expertise in adding names and changing names, but not every rabbi has such expertise. And people who know about the power of names and know that they do not have such expertise don't touch it they don't touch changing names. They don't get near it. They don't add names. They don't touch names. They don't do that with names unless they have an expertise. So now, but Stam, yeah, I'm not judging anyone or criticizing anybody, but you really have to know what you're doing when you say a name isn't strong enough, and when you change a name, add a name. If a person is deathly ill, lo aleinu, and not on anybody, in olden day, they would add regular standard names, Chaya, Chaim, Raphael, Ruchama. There were certain names that they added, but it was just a tefillah to extend the life of that person. But changing names is a very tricky thing to do. You have to really, really know what you're doing. And it's not like you can decide on your own. Now, the thing is that the last time I went to Diane Fisher with one of my students, I took a girl, her name was Hila. Hey Yud Lamed Hey Hila. And she felt that she had bad luck. And she wanted the name Tehillah from Tehillim. So I said, okay, let's go. I made an appointment. I took her. And Diane Fisher said, sure, that's great. Great idea. And he called her Tehillah, and she was able to use that name, and her life changed. Now, did her life, there was nothing wrong with her. She wasn't sick. She was just, she felt that she didn't have a good life. She was a balas tshuva, a beginner. And anyway, so how that works is a very big mystery. Does it work in that the person themselves, because when he told her, I was very surprised how he said it so quickly. He said, oh, great idea, good choice, Tehillah. She said, what should I do now? He says, no, yeah, just tell everybody that your name is Tehillah. And so was it because he made her feel that now she has hope because he changed her name, or he added an extra letter to her name, and because of that, did her attitude to herself change? And because of that, did her life change? Because as you know, so much of Nachman says in the name of his great-grandfather, Baal Shem HaKadosh, where your mind is where you are. So if you're in a sad place, if you're in a place of hopelessness, chas v'shalom, then a person, it's not so easy to get at, to have a great life if you're in a place of despair and hopelessness. So is it because she felt hopeful, or is it because he actually added the letter Tav to her neshama? But how could you do that if your neshama has an identity? It's a tricky thing. We're going to see that the letter Tav is a very powerful, powerful letter. And he just put it into her being. So did he allow her to access that letter Tav? Was her name supposed to be Tehillah? And her parents wanted to make it Hilat because it sounded more Israeli. I don't have answers to any of these questions, but I'm just going to tell you that it's a very complicated, complex, and you can't just go to any local Orthodox rabbi and say, because if he's a local Orthodox rabbi worth his weight, he'll tell you that he doesn't know, and you have to go to a Kabbalist. Well, my Rav, Alav Hashalom, Reb Moshe Burstein said so. He was the oldest Breslover in the world when he passed away. I'm sure I told you many times. He passed at the age of 97, and he wasn't sick at all. He just, after Marav, he sat down in his chair, and he just put his head to the side, and that was it. He was gone. And so he very much did not like when anyone changed the names, unless it was the parents who would do that, or unless it was with the approval of parents. So there was a certain Rav that was very popular with Bali Tshuva, and he was changing names left and right. All the girls he gave the name Adel or Sarah, and guys he gave like Nachman and Nassan. he was changing names all over the place. And my Rav was very protesting that. He didn't like that at all. He felt that that wasn't in the scope of the permission. Now, I don't measure rabbis and their power and their holiness, but it's a big deal to add a name, to change a name. It's a big deal unless the person is very, very sick. We have a Kabbalah, we have a tradition that if a person is very, very ill, chas v'shalom, and there's no, and the family wants to, then they can add a name, a healing name. They don't ever take away a name, they add a healing name, and they call that person the healing name. And then if after 120 years the person passes away, I don't think they put that name on the tombstone, the added name. I don't think they put that name. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember. I don't think they put it. Maybe different Eidot have a different, maybe different customs for different communities. Okay, so that's a long answer to your question. Basically, it's a big question mark, the answer. Okay, so, but let's just do the simple pshat. Nobody should ever have to add names. And we should, when you pray for someone, if you don't know their Hebrew name, you could pray for them in any name that you want. You could pray their English name. You could even say so-and-so's father, if you don't even know their name. Because Hashem knows, of course, everything, and nothing is hopeless and nothing is irretrievable. And if you don't use your Hebrew name, don't worry, it's not the worst thing in the world, but you should try. You know who you should try and use your Hebrew name with? I know this is going to be the hardest one, with your husband. And you should use his Hebrew name. Why? And you've been calling each other your English name for, I don't know, 40 years. And it's hard. But the truth is that what happens to you when you hear your Hebrew name? And by the way, your complete Hebrew name, not just the first, but
I was going to ask, should you call the person with both names? I'm the only person who calls my husband by his Hebrew name.
Good. So that's really all he needs. But yeah, you should try to call the entire name. What happens when that happens, when you call the entire name? Is that it strengthens the connection between the neshama and the brain. What do I mean by that? Our neshama is what's keeping us alive, right? We all have a neshama, and that's an amazing gift from Hashem that we have a neshama that's a chelak, elokah, mima'al, mamish. It's really, Hashem is beaming into us of his havaya, his beingness. So that's our neshama. Now the thing is like this, we don't always hear or feel our neshama. It's there, because if we don't have one, we're not in this world. I mean, if it's taken out of the body, then we're not here anymore. But why don't we have access to our neshama? For many, many reasons. Most of the reasons is if we do chas v'shalom sins, the sin makes a barrier between our consciousness of our neshama and our neshama. The neshama is there. You never lose your neshama. It's always going to be there. It's your essence. It's your havaya, so to speak. It's your existence. But you don't always feel it. If you felt your neshama, you would never do an avera, you would never do the wrong thing, you would always be connected to Hashem. And so the more we are in touch with our neshama, the holier our life is. So what helps us to come in touch with our neshama? Torah and mitzvahs, learning Torah, performing mitzvah, living as Hashem wants us to live, doing teshuvah when we fall short. Sometimes we have to go through a little bit of suffering, sometimes, to somehow clean our neshama. But what helps our neshama is when we call it its complete full name. So one of the things that you're doing when you call someone by their full Hebrew name is you're strengthening their awareness of their own neshama. Oops, 1 second. Wait, don't go. I have to plug in my thing. Ooh. Okay, it's a good thing that the shear is almost over because I forgot to plug in my iPad and it's just about to turn red. So if I disappear, the shear is anyway over and we'll continue next week. But if I don't disappear, I'll continue for the next 2 minutes and say that's why it's good to call each other. Now it's hard. So if you're embarrassed to tell your husband to call you by your full Hebrew name, then tell one of the ladies on the shear. Next week, everyone's going to put their full Hebrew name on the shear. No more talking about Marcel and Sharon. Right? You put your full Hebrew name on, and we're going to all get used to calling each other by including Rebbetzzin. My full name is Rachel Rina. I don't usually put it on, but I will believe that if I remember.
So I asked Dan Loppian once, a Shala, about a young woman, about changing her name. And he actually said, yes, she should only be called by her Hebrew name. So I said, oh, Dan Loppian, that means that I should change mine too. So he laughed, he says, no, it's fine. And from then on, he always called me Yael. And then have we lost the Rebbetzzin? Yeah, okay. Okay, everybody, next Thursday, we will be coming to you live from Jerusalem. We will be thinking of all of you who will not be on our program with us in the Holy Land. We will also be Zoche to be in Be'ezos Hashem in Bakeva Rachel and Marsa Machpelah on Tuesday, and I will do my best to record and be able to send to everybody. So Be'ezrat Hashem, we should all have a beautiful week, and I'm hoping that I won't be coming back after this trip, that we will be greeting Mashiach there together with Rebbetzzin Silber, who knows, but we will have you all in mind, and I will send out, there are some people who aren't on all of my lists that I send out, but I will send out the Zoom links, certainly for, please God, for Wednesday, and not to coincide with this share, because I'll probably just open it, but won't be with you because of the timing. So looking forward to everybody having a beautiful Shabbos and to getting to our Chazak, and that we should all just continue together and be Zoche to greet Mashiach. I certainly know that as of the change, and I hope everybody else is at, but today what Rebbetzzin Silber has done is, once again, with everything that we all know, is that Torah is so interconnected, and everything that we learn, there's no, everything together that we learn always has its connection wherever we are. And this is, enough proof to say it doesn't matter if we're learning Tehillim, if we're learning the letters, if we're learning names, the essence of everything that we do is so totally connected that it should just give us a lot of chizuk to continue with everything that we do. Okay, make a beautiful Shabbos. We should all just be blessed with all good things, and lovely to see everybody.
Thank you, good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom.
Have Shalom next week. Enjoy.
Amen. Amen. Motzei Shabbos.
Shabbos.
How many people are going?